Welcome to Mystery Manor Narratives. I'm your host, Reginald Hawthorne. Settle in with a cup of tea, dear listeners, as we embark on a journey into the shadowy world of intrigue and deduction. Today, we're diving into a tale inspired by the Queen of Mystery herself, Agatha Christie. This is Blood on the Rails of Lyon Express, a Hercule Poirot story of murder. It's a long one, perfect for those cozy evenings or long commutes, over 90 minutes of suspenseful narration. If you're new here, hit that subscribe button and turn on notifications so you never miss a mystery. And as always, tell me in the comments where you're listening from, perhaps from a rainy London street or a sun-drenched cafe in Paris. Let's begin. Chapter 1. The Gathering Storm. In the golden autumn of 1925, the Lyon Express stood poised at Paris's Gare de Lyon, its sleek black locomotive gleaming under the station's vast iron and glass canopy. This was no mere train, it was a rolling palace, a testament to human ingenuity and opulence, bound for the sun-drenched Riviera. Its polished brass fittings caught the late afternoon light, and its velvet-lined compartments promised a cocoon of luxury for the elite who could afford its tickets. The air buzzed with the hum of anticipation, porters scurrying with trunks, passengers exchanging farewells, and the faint whistle of steam signaling imminent departure. Among those boarding was Hercule Poirot, the diminutive Belgian detective with a moustache as precise as his mind, whose reputation for unraveling the impossible preceded him. For once, Poirot sought not a case but a respite, his passage a gift from a grateful friend in the Sûreté, who insisted the Riviera's azure skies would soothe even the most restless of little grey cells. Poirot adjusted his immaculate Homburg hat and stepped aboard, his patent leather shoes clicking on the platform. He was assigned compartment 7, a snug yet elegant space with mahogany panelling, a plush berth, and a window framing the receding spires of Paris. The Lyon Express was a marvel of the era, its dining car adorned with crystal chandeliers that tinkled softly with the train's motion. It's much as it revealed. The couple's marriage, the gossip columns hinted, was less a union of hearts than a contract of convenience, her youth for his fortune. Lady Evelyn's delicate fingers toyed with a pearl necklace, her smile practiced but brittle, as she nodded at her husband's anecdotes. Compartment 2 housed Victor Langston, an American businessman whose sharp gray suit and ever-present cigar marked him as a man of ambition. In his early 40s, Langston was Sir Reginald's partner in a sprawling railway venture across Europe, a partnership that had minted millions but now teetered on discord. Langston's dark eyes narrowed whenever Beaumont spoke, and over cocktails in the lounge, he'd been overheard accusing his partner of siphoning profits. "You'll regret crossing me, Reginald," he'd muttered, the words carrying a chill that lingered in the air. In compartment 3, Madame Elise Duval, a French opera singer of fading renown, reclined with the grace of a bygone era. Her once luminous soprano had softened to a husky murmur, but her presence remained commanding, her silver-streaked hair piled high and her wrists glittering with bracelets. She claimed a passing acquaintance with Sir Reginald from his Parisian soirees, where champagne flowed and promises were made. Yet her purpose on this journey was opaque. Rumors suggested debts, or perhaps a quest to reclaim lost glory. Her velvet-lined jewelry case, glimpsed by a porter, held gems that might tempt more than admiration. Dr. Heinrich Müller, a German physician in his late 40s, occupied compartment 4. His wire-rimmed spectacles and reserved demeanor gave him an air of scholarly detachment, but his medical bag, never far from reach, hinted at secrets. A specialist in toxicology, Müller had consulted for Beaumont years prior, treating a mysterious ailment that some whispered was no accident. His soft-spoken replies in the dining car revealed little, save a passing mention of poisons that could kill without a trace, a comment that drew Poirot's keen interest. Compartment 5 was home to Miss Clara Winters, an English governess in her early 30s, her prim gray dress and tightly pinned hair a study in restraint. She flushed as he juggled trunks and orders with earnest clumsiness. As the Lyon Express gathered speed, slicing through the twilight fields of northern France, the passengers gathered in the dining car for a sumptuous meal. Crystal glasses clinked, and the aroma of roasted pheasant mingled with the tang of fine Bordeaux. Sir Reginald held court, his voice carrying over the hum of conversation. "To my darling Evelyn," he toasted, presenting her with a velvet box containing a diamond necklace, its stones catching the chandelier's glow. "A token of our enduring bond." Evelyn's smile was a masterpiece of composure, but her fingers tightened around her glass. Langston, seated opposite, snorted softly, his cigar smoke curling like a warning. Madame Duval, sipping champagne, offered an impromptu aria, her eyes locked on Beaumont as if recalling a forgotten promise. Dr. Muller discussed a rare poison with clinical precision, oblivious to the unease his words stirred. Miss Winters, at the table's edge, knitted silently, her needles clicking rhythmically, her gaze darting between faces. Poirot, seated alone with a glass of crème de menthe, observed it all, the veiled glances, the unspoken tensions. Langston's argument with Beaumont grew heated, a dispute over a contract that threatened their empire. "You've gone too far this time," Langston hissed, storming off. Evelyn excused herself shortly after, her face pale. Madame Duval lingered, her song fading into a melancholic hum. Muller retired with his medical journal, and Winters vanished quietly, her knitting left on the table. As the train plunged into a tunnel, the world outside swallowed by darkness, Poirot leaned back, his fingers steepled. "Mon ami," he whispered to himself, "this journey promises more than a holiday. The air, it is heavy with secrets." The Lyon Express emerged into a starlit night, its wheels singing a steady song. But beneath the elegance, a storm was brewing, a storm that would soon break with blood. The passengers retired to their compartments, the train's rhythm lulling most to sleep. Poirot, however, lay awake, his mind turning over the 7. The Belgian detective lay on his berth, his eyes half closed, listening to the symphony of the train, the creak of wood, the clink of a distant glass, the faint murmur of voices from the corridor. It was 3:17 a.m., near Dijon, when the illusion of peace shattered. A scream, sharp and piercing as a shard of glass, tore through the quiet. It came from compartment 1, the grand suite of Sir Reginald Beaumont. The cry was raw, primal, and it sent a jolt through the train, rousing passengers from their slumber. Doors creaked open, footsteps pattered, and Poirot, ever alert, was already slipping into his silk dressing gown, his moustache twitching with instinct. He stepped into the corridor, his small frame radiating authority, just as Lady Evelyn Beaumont stumbled out of her compartment, her nightgown askew, her auburn hair tumbling over her shoulders. Her face was pale as moonlight, her emerald eyes wide with horror. "He's dead," she gasped, clutching the doorframe. "My husband! Murdered!" Conductor Pierre Laurent, his uniform slightly rumpled from the late hour, was the first to reach her, his master key jangling in his hand. "Madame, what has happened?" he asked, his French accent thick with concern. Poirot joined them, his gaze sharp, taking in every detail. Lady Evelyn's trembling hands, the faint smear of lipstick on her cheek, the corridor's stillness, save for the gathering crowd. "Monsieur Laurent," Poirot said calmly, "open the door, if you please. We must see for ourselves." The door to compartment 1 was locked from the inside, the key still in the lock, untouched. Laurent hesitated, then turned the master key, and the door swung open to reveal a scene of chilling finality. Sir Reginald Beaumont lay sprawled across his berth, his silk pyjamas stained crimson. A dagger, ornate and engraved with his initials, R.B., protruded from his chest, the wound deep and precise. Blood had pooled on the sheets, seeping into the intricate patterns of the passengers, drawn by the commotion, gathered in the corridor, their faces a tableau of shock and suspicion. Victor Langston, still in his dressing gown, his cigar absent but the scent lingering, pushed forward. "Good God, Reginald!" he exclaimed, though his tone held a trace of calculation. "Who could have done this?" Madame Elise Duval, wrapped in a silk robe, clutched her throat, her jewelry glinting in the lamplight. "Mon Dieu, it's barbaric," she whispered, her husky voice trembling. Dr. Heinrich Müller, his spectacles slightly askew, stepped forward to examine the body, confirming death with a clinical nod. "Stabbed through the heart," he said. "Death was swift, perhaps an hour ago." Miss Clara Winters, her face pale as her gray nightdress, stood at the back, her hands clasped tightly, her eyes darting between the others. Jacques, the young porter, hovered nervously, wringing his hands. Poirot turned to Lady Evelyn, who had sunk into a chair brought by Laurent. "Madame, recount precisely what happened," he said, his voice gentle but firm. She drew a shuddering breath. "We retired after dinner, around midnight. Reginald was reading his ledger. Business matters, always business. I slept in the adjoining berth, as we often did. I woke to a sound, a thud perhaps, and found him like this. I screamed and ran out." Her voice broke, but Poirot noted the steadiness of her hands, now folded in her lap. Was her grief genuine or a performance? The conductor, his face drawn, addressed Poirot. "Monsieur, the train cannot stop until Lyon, hours from now. The schedule is strict, and the tracks are single-line in parts. What do we do?" Poirot straightened, his mustache quivering with resolve. "Monsieur Laurent, you will secure this compartment. No one enters without my permission. Mesdames et messieurs," he said, turning to the passengers, "we are aboard a train with a murderer. I, Hercule Poirot, will uncover the truth. Return to your compartments and prepare to answer my questions at dawn." Murmurs rippled through the group. Langston protested. "This is absurd. The door was locked. I heard Reginald bolted after dinner." The train's rhythm continued, indifferent to the chaos within. Poirot stepped into the corridor, where Laurent awaited. "Monsieur, have you seen such a thing before?" the conductor asked, his voice low. Poirot's eyes gleamed. "Oui, monsieur, but each crime is a puzzle, unique in its pieces. This locked room is not what it seems. The Lyon Express carries secrets, and I shall unravel them." He paused, glancing at the closed doors along the corridor. Every passenger, every word, every glance, it is all evidence. The truth hides in the shadows, but Poirot's little grey cells will bring it to light. The train sped on, the night deepening, as the passengers returned to their berths, each carrying their own fears and secrets. Lady Evelyn's motive seemed clear: inheritance, or escape from a marriage grown cold. Langston's business disputes with Beaumont pointed to greed or revenge. Madame Duval's past with the victim hinted at old wounds. Muller's knowledge of poisons raised questions, and Miss Winter's claim to be Beaumont's daughter suggested a deeper grudge. Even Laurent and Jacques were not above suspicion. The conductor's resentment, the porter's access to keys. The Lyon Express was a microcosm of motives, and Poirot knew the answer lay in the delicate threads connecting them.
As the clock ticked toward dawn, Poirot returned to his compartment, his mind already weaving the strands of the mystery. The scream still echoed in his ears, a silent cry for justice. The Lyon Express, with its locked doors and hidden truths, was now a stage, and Hercule Poirot was its director, determined to bring the curtain down on a killer. Chapter 3. Shadows of the Past. As dawn broke over the rolling fields of Burgundy, the Lyon Express continued its relentless journey, the first rays of sunlight glinting off its polished exterior. Inside, the air was thick with unease, the opulence of the train's velvet-lined corridors and crystal-adorned dining car overshadowed by the grim reality of murder. Sir Reginald Beaumont lay dead in compartment 1, stabbed through the heart in a locked room, and Hercule Poirot, the diminutive Belgian detective, had taken charge. The train, bound by its rigid schedule, could not stop.
Müller, the German physician, adjusted his spectacles, his medical bag at his feet, like a silent witness. Miss Clara Winters, the prim governess, clutched her satchel of letters, her knuckles white. Conductor Pierre Laurent stood by the door, his face a mask of professional calm, while young Jacques, the porter, hovered nervously, polishing a glass with unnecessary vigor. "Mesdames et messieurs," Poirot began, his voice measured and deliberate, "a crime has been committed, a most audacious murder in a locked compartment. Sir Reginald Beaumont was stabbed at approximately 2:45 a.m., as his broken watch suggests. The door was locked, the window bolted, yet a killer struck and vanished. I, Hercule Poirot, will uncover how and why. Each of you will account for your movements last night. The truth it hides, but not for long." His moustache twitched, his green eyes scanning each face for a flicker of guilt. He began with Lady Evelyn, whose delicate frame seemed to shrink under his gaze. "Madame, you discovered the body. Tell me everything, precisely." Evelyn drew a shaky breath. "After dinner, Reginald and I retired around midnight. He was in his berth, reading his ledger. Always those numbers, those deals. I slept in the adjoining berth, as was our habit. I heard nothing until a thud woke me, perhaps a book falling. I rose, found him. Like that, the dagger in his chest. I screamed and ran to the corridor. Her voice faltered, but Poirot noted her composure, the way her hands folded neatly, despite her words. Motive? The vast Beaumont fortune, hers upon his death. Or, perhaps, escape from a marriage grown cold. "Did you touch anything, madame?" Poirot asked. She shook her head. Only the door, to flee. Next, Victor Langston, whose sharp eyes met Poirot's with defiance. "I was in my compartment, alone, all night," he said brusquely. "Heard nothing, saw nothing. Reginald was a crook, embezzled millions from our railway venture, but I'd take him to court, not kill him." Poirot raised an eyebrow. "And yet, monsieur, cigar ash was found near compartment." "Coincidence?" Dr. Muller's voice was calm, almost too calm. "I was reading medical journals in my compartment until 3, then slept. I heard nothing." He paused, then added, "I treated Beaumont last year for a suspected poisoning. Arsenic, he claimed, accidental. I had my doubts." Poirot's eyes narrowed. "Poison, you say? And your bag, monsieur, contains such substances?" Muller nodded. "For medical purposes only." His expertise in toxicology, Poirot noted, could mimic a dagger's work, a possible red herring. Miss Clara Winters spoke softly, her voice barely above a whisper. "I was in my compartment, knitting, then slept. I heard no scream." Her eyes flickered to Lady Evelyn, then away. "Sir Reginald was my father," she confessed, producing a letter from her satchel, yellowed and creased. "He abandoned my mother. I came to confront him, to claim my place." Poirot studied the letter,
its handwriting matching Beaumont's. Revenge or recognition was a potent motive. Conductor Laurent, questioned next, was curt. "I was on duty, checking tickets until 1, then in the staff car. Jacques can confirm." The porter nodded eagerly. "Oui, monsieur, I saw him." But Poirot caught a glance between them, a flicker of unease. Laurent's brother, he recalled, had suffered under Beaumont's business dealings, a grudge worth exploring. Poirot dismissed the group, save Laurent, and returned to compartment 1. The scene was unchanged. Beaumont's body, the dagger, the locked door, the bolted window. He examined the torn ticket stub in Beaumont's hand, dated from a Paris stop, but for a different train, an oddity. The glass with lipstick traces intrigued him. The shade was deeper than Lady Evelyn's, suggesting another visitor. A faint scratch on the dagger's handle hinted at a struggle, but the blade was clean, wiped deliberately. The stopped watch at 2:45 a.m. was curious. Smashed intentionally, perhaps, to mislead? Back in the lounge, Poirot summoned Jacques alone. The young porter fidgeted, his eyes darting. "Monsieur, I swear, I was fetching blankets from the—"
Damning. Even Laurent and Jacques, with access and grudges, were not above suspicion. Poirot paused by a window, the countryside blurring past. "The locked room," he mused. "It is not the puzzle, it is the distraction. The truth lies in the human heart, in the motives that drive us to such acts." He recalled a detail from dinner. Beaumont's diamond necklace, flaunted for Evelyn, had drawn envious glances. Was it still in the compartment? A quick check confirmed it was gone, another thread in the web. The morning wore on, the Lyon express hurtling toward its destination, but Poirot knew time was his ally. Each passenger's story was a piece of the puzzle, each clue a brushstroke in the portrait of a killer. He would question them again, probe deeper, and watch for the slip that would betray the guilty. The train's rhythm was steady, but the tension aboard was a tightening noose. Hercule Poirot, with his little gray cells, was only beginning. Chapter 4. Whispers in the Wind. The Lyon Express sliced through the late morning, its polished exterior gleaming under a pale October sun. The French countryside unfolded in a blur of golden vineyards and quaint villages, but within the train's opulent confines, a darker drama played out. Sir Reginald Beaumont's murder in the locked compartment 1 had cast a pall over the passengers, their polished manners fraying under the weight of suspicion. Hercule Poirot, his green eyes sharp and his mustache impeccably waxed, moved through the train like a conductor of truth, orchestrating his investigation with meticulous care. The locked room mystery, a dagger in the heart, a bolted window, a key untouched, demanded answers, and Poirot was determined to find them before the train reached Lyon. In the lounge car, where the scent of coffee mingled with the faint tang of fear, Poirot gathered his thoughts. The morning's interviews had revealed motives aplenty: Lady Evelyn's inheritance, Victor Langston's business betrayal, Madame Elise Duval's shadowed past, Dr. Heinrich Muller's toxicological expertise, Miss Clara Winter's claim as Beaumont's heir, and even conductor Pierre Laurent's grudge. Yet the clues were elusive, tangled with red herrings that teased the edges of Poirot's pristine, the key still inside, ruling out external manipulation. Yet a faint draft caught his attention, emanating from a decorative vent above the berth, too small for a person, but large enough for a clue, or a deception. Poirot's fingers traced the vent's grill, finding a single thread of blue silk caught in its edge. It matched none of Lady Evelyn's attire, but Madame Duval had worn a blue shawl at dinner. A clue, or another distraction? He pocketed the thread, his mind turning to the missing diamond necklace Beaumont had gifted Evelyn. Its absence suggested theft, but was it the motive or a diversion? Poirot stepped back, his eyes narrowing.
"The locked room is a lie," he murmured. "The truth hides in what is not seen." He summoned the passengers, one by one, to the dining car, now cleared of its breakfast service, its chandeliers casting prisms across their tense faces. First he questioned Lady Evelyn, who sat with a delicate posture that belied her strain. "Madame, the necklace your husband presented, is it still in your possession?" Her eyes widened, then darted away. I left it in the compartment last night. It's gone?" Her voice trembled, but Poirot noted her hesitation. Was she feigning surprise, or had the thief struck opportunely? "And this lipstick," he pressed, holding up the glass, "it is not yours?" She shook her head. "No, I use a lighter shade. A red herring, perhaps. But whose?" Victor Langston was next, his American bravado tempered by unease. "I told you, Poirot, I was in my compartment. That cigar ash means nothing. I smoke everywhere." Poirot tilted his head. "And yet, monsieur, I found a business ledger in your luggage, with entries forged in Beaumont's hand. You accused him of embezzlement. Did you confront him last night?" Langston's jaw tightened. "I didn't see him after dinner. Those forgeries? His doing, not mine." Poirot noted the ledger's date. A contract signed the day before, potentially explosive evidence of betrayal.
Madame did, finding vials of sedatives but no arsenic. Yet the doctor's calm raised suspicions. Miss Clara Winters clutched her satchel, her eyes avoiding Poirot's. "I was knitting, as I said. I fetched water at 2:30, as Jacques saw." Poirot leaned forward. "And yet, mademoiselle, your letters claim Beaumont as your father. Did you argue with him?" She flinched. "I tried to speak to him after dinner, but he dismissed me." I returned to my compartment. Her presence near compartment 1, confirmed by Jacques, was damning. But her soft voice carried conviction. Or was it an act? Conductor Laurent, questioned last, was defensive. "I checked the train at 2, then rested in the staff car. Jacques can vouch." Poirot's eyes narrowed. "And your brother's misfortune at Beaumont's hands, monsieur. Did it fuel anger?" Laurent stiffened. "I am a professional. I did my duty." But his clenched fists told another story. Poirot dismissed them, his mind a whirl of contradictions. The blue silk thread pointed to Madame Duval, but its placement seemed too convenient. The missing necklace suggested theft, yet no one had fled the train. The lipstick glass hinted at an outsider, but the locked room defied logic. He returned to the corridor, where Jacques, polishing brass, avoided his gaze. "Monsieur Jacques," Poirot said softly, "you saw Miss Winters, oui? But what else?" The porter stammered, "Nothing, monsieur, just a shadow near compartment 1, maybe. I was tired. A shadow? Another red herring? Or a glimpse of the killer?" As the train neared Lyon, Poirot found a new clue, a crumpled note in Beaumont's ledger, tucked into Langston's belongings, reading, "Meet me at 2:30. We settle this." The handwriting was Beaumont's, but the ink was fresh, suggesting a last-minute rendezvous. With whom? Langston denied receiving it, but his unease was palpable. Poirot paced the lounge, the train's rhythm a counterpoint to his thoughts. The clues were mounting, but so were the deceptions. The silk thread, alibi cracks. The Lyon Express hurtled through the early afternoon, its wheels singing a relentless song against the rails as the French countryside blurred past in hues of amber and green. The sun hung high, casting sharp shadows through the train's opulent interiors, but the elegance of its velvet-lined corridors and crystal-decked dining car was marred by the specter of murder.
Sir Reginald Beaumont's death in the locked compartment 1, a dagger through his heart, a room sealed tight, had turned the passengers into a gallery of suspects, each hiding secrets behind polished facades. Hercule Poirot, his mustache quivering with focus, stood at the heart of the investigation, his little gray cells weaving through a tapestry of clues and deceptions. The blue silk thread, the missing diamond necklace, the torn ticket stub, and the cryptic note had deepened the mystery, and now, as the train neared Lyon, new complications threatened to unravel the fragile alibis. Poirot convened the passengers in the lounge car, its leather armchairs and polished tables now a stage for confrontation. The air was heavy with tension, the passengers' faces etched with unease. Lady Evelyn Beaumont sat with a strained elegance, her emerald eyes darting nervously. Victor Langston, the American businessman, gripped the armrest of his chair, his usual bravado replaced by a wary edge. Madame Elise Duval, her sleeping silver bracelets silent, fixed her gaze on the floor. Dr. Heinrich Müller, his spectacles reflecting the sunlight, maintained a clinical calm. Miss Clara Winters clutched her satchel, her prim demeanor fraying. Conductor Pierre Laurent stood by the door, his professional mask slipping, while Jacques, the young porter, fidgeted nearby, polishing a non-existent spot on the bar. "Mesdames et messieurs," Poirot began, his voice slow and deliberate, "the puzzle of Sir Reginald's murder grows more complex. The locked room, the dagger, the clues, they point to a killer among us, but the truth is obscured by lies. New evidence has emerged, and I require your candor. The smallest detail may unlock this mystery." His eyes swept the room, noting every flinch, every glance. He started with Lady Evelyn, whose delicate hands trembled slightly. "Crook!" Poirot produced the crumpled note, its ink fresh. "And yet, monsieur, this was in your luggage. A meeting that led to murder, perhaps." Langston's eyes flashed. "Someone planted it. I didn't meet him." Poirot noted a bead of sweat on his brow, a crack in his alibi. The cigar ash near the crime scene, now paired with the note, placed Langston dangerously close to the act. Madame Elise Duval, her voice husky, denied the blue silk thread's significance. "My shawl tore, as I said. I was nowhere near compartment 1. Poirot leaned forward. "And yet, madame, a passenger saw you in the corridor at 2:20, adjusting your shawl. Your past with Beaumont, did it reignite old passions or resentments?" Her bracelets clinked as she recoiled. "I sang alone. Nothing more. Whoever saw me is mistaken." But her eyes betrayed a flicker of fear, and Poirot recalled the pawned ring, a link to Beaumont's wealth. Dr. Müller adjusted his spectacles, unfazed. "My alibi stands, Monsieur Poirot. I read until 3, then slept. My medical bag holds no poisons." Poirot raised an eyebrow. "Yet a vial in your bag, labeled as a sedative, could slow a heart before a dagger strikes. And your treatment of Beaumont's alleged poisoning, did it give you insight into his enemies?" Muller's lips thinned. "I treated him professionally. I had no reason to kill." His calm was unnerving, a potential mask for darker knowledge. Miss Clara Winters, her voice barely audible, reiterated her story. "I fetched water at 2:30, as Jacques saw. I never entered my father's compartment." Poirot held up her letter, its handwriting Beaumont's. "This claims you as his heir, mademoiselle. Did he refuse you, sparking rage?" Her eyes filled with tears. "He laughed at me, called me a fraud. But I didn't kill him." Her presence near the crime, confirmed by Jacques,
hung over her like a storm.
Person? Speak plainly. Jacques stammered. It looked like Monsieur Langston, but it was dark. I can't be sure. A second sighting near the crime scene tightened the net around Langston. As the train rattled on, a sudden jolt shook the cars, a minor derailment scare quickly resolved by Laurent, but it heightened the passengers' unease. Poirot used the moment to observe reactions. Evelyn clutched her handbag. Langston cursed under his breath. Duval hummed nervously. Muller remained stoic, and Winters dropped her satchel, spilling letters. One, unnoticed by her, bore a different handwriting, not Beaumont's, but a woman's, hinting at a forged claim. Whose? Poirot's mind raced. The vial suggested a poison plot, abandoned or misdirected. The note to Langston implied a confrontation, but its placement in his luggage screamed setup. The silk thread and lipstick glass pointed to Duval or an unknown woman, yet the locked room defied all entries. Jacques' shadow and Winter's corridor sighting muddled the timeline. And the missing necklace, had it been stolen or hidden to cast suspicion? He gathered the passengers once more, his voice cutting through their murmurs. Someone aboard this train has woven a web of lies. The clues, thread, note, vial, are threads in that web, but which are true. I urge the guilty to confess, for Poirot sees all. Silence fell, broken only by the train's rhythm. Langston glared. Evelyn wept softly. Duval fidgeted. Muller stared ahead. Winters clutched her letters, and Laurent shifted uncomfortably. As the passengers dispersed, Poirot lingered in the lounge, the countryside now rolling hills under a graying sky. The alibis crack, he whispered. But the truth remains just beyond grasp. The killer is clever, but not cleverer than Poirot. He noted a new detail, a faint burn mark on the compartment's carpet near the vent, as if a cigarette had fallen. Langston's cigar? Or another deception? The Lyon Express sped toward Lyon, its passengers trapped in a dance of suspicion. Poirot knew the next hours would bring more revelations, or more lies. The clues were blue silk thread, the missing diamond necklace, the torn ticket stub, the cryptic note, the almond-scented vial, and the burn mark on the carpet had deepened the puzzle. Now, as the train neared Lyon, a revelation loomed, threatening to unravel the web of deception. Poirot stood in the lounge car, its leather armchairs and polished tables now a familiar stage for his inquiries. The passengers, summoned once more, sat in a tense semicircle, their faces etched with fear and defiance. Lady Evelyn Beaumont clutched a handkerchief, her emerald eyes shadowed with exhaustion. Victor Langston, his American bravado fraying, tapped his fingers impatiently. Madame Elise Duval, her silver bracelets silent, avoided Poirot's gaze. Dr. Heinrich Müller, his spectacles glinting, maintained an unnerving calm. Miss Clara Winters gripped her satchel, her prim facade cracking under scrutiny. Conductor Pierre Laurent lingered by the door, his professional demeanor strained, while Jacques, the young porter, hovered nervously, his eyes darting. Mesdames et messieurs, Poirot began, his voice slow and deliberate, a velvet glove over an iron will. The murder of Sir Reginald Beaumont is a tapestry of lies, woven with care. The locked room, the dagger, the clues, they are pieces of a puzzle, but some are false, designed to mislead. Today, I have found a truth that changes all. One of you has lied most cleverly, but Poirot sees through the shadows. His green eyes swept the room, noting every flinch, every tightened jaw. He turned first to Lady Evelyn, whose delicate frame stiffened. Madam, you claimed to sleep until a thud woke you. Yet a porter saw you in the corridor at 2:15. And the necklace? Its absence is curious. Did you stage its theft? Evelyn's lips trembled. I told you it was in the compartment. I was asleep. Poirot held up the glass with lipstick traces. This shade, madam, matches a tube found in your luggage. Followed. Were you meeting Beaumont? Her bracelets clinked as she recoiled. I stopped singing to rest my voice. I went nowhere. But her eyes betrayed panic, and Poirot recalled the pawned ring, a motive tied to Beaumont's wealth. Dr. Muller's calm was unshaken. My bag holds no poisons, Monsieur Poirot. The vial you found, someone placed it to implicate me. Poirot nodded. Perhaps, monsieur, but your knowledge of arsenic and your treatment of Beaumont's past illness suggests opportunity. Did you test a theory last night? Muller's lips thinned. I am a physician, not a murderer. Yet his steady gaze felt like a challenge, a mask for deeper secrets. Miss Clara Winters, her voice barely audible, clutched her letters. I fetched water, nothing more. I didn't kill my father. Poirot held up the forged letter from her satchel, its handwriting feminine, not Beaumont's. This, mademoiselle, suggests a plot to claim his estate. Did you forge it to force his hand? Tears welled in her eyes. I found it among my mother's things. He wrote it, I swear. But Jacques' sighting of her near compartment 1 at 2:30 cast doubt on her innocence. Conductor Laurent, questioned privately, grew agitated. I was in the staff car, as Jacques said. My brother's loss is no motive. Poirot pressed. And the key in Monsieur Langston's trunk? Could it have come from your lockbox? Laurent's face flushed. Impossible. I checked those keys nightly. But his defensiveness hinted at negligence or complicity. Poirot's revelation came as the train rattled over a bridge, the sound amplifying the tension. He gathered the passengers again, holding up the almond-scented vial. This was found in compartment 1, suggesting poison. Yet Dr. Muller's autopsy confirmed the dagger as the cause. Why then the vial? He paused, his eyes locking on Muller. Unless it was placed to mislead. A red herring to distract from the true method. Muller's calm faltered, a rare crack. I had no part in it, he insisted. Then, a twist. Poirot produced a final bombshell. Poirot found a hidden seam in the compartment's vent, revealing a narrow crawl space connecting to compartment 4, Muller's. Not large enough for a person, Poirot clarified, but enough to pass a vial or a thread to create illusion. Muller's face tightened, but he said nothing. The crawl space suggested a staged clue, but by whom? The passengers' alibis were crumbling. Evelyn's lipstick lie, Langston's key, Duval's interrupted aria, Muller's crawl space, Winter's forged letter, Jacques' button, Laurent's access, each pointed to guilt, yet none fully explained the locked room. Poirot dismissed them, his mind racing. The vial was a distraction, the watch a lie, the button a plant. The necklace's absence screamed theft, but the crawl space hinted at a deeper plot. The killer is among us, Poirot whispered, and they play a dangerous game. As the train neared Lyon, the passengers retreated, their glances venomous. Poirot stood alone in the lounge, the sunset casting long shadows. The echoes of deception are loud, he mused, but the truth speaks softly. I am close, but not yet there. The Lyon Express carried its secrets forward, and Hercule Poirot was ready to chase them to the end. Chapter 7. Justice Served. The Lyon Express barreled through the twilight, its sleek form cutting through the French countryside as the last rays of the October sun bled into the horizon, casting an amber glow across the rolling hills. Within its opulent confines, velvet-lined corridors, crystal chandeliers and polished mahogany, the air was taut with anticipation. Sir Reginald Beaumont's murder in the locked compartment 1, a dagger through his heart, had turned the train into a crucible of secrets, each passenger a suspect in Hercule Poirot's relentless pursuit of truth. The clues, a blue silk thread, a missing diamond necklace, a torn ticket stub, a cryptic note, an almond-scented vial, a brass button, a tampered watch, and a hidden crawl space, had woven a complex web of deception. Now,
The murder of Sir Reginald Beaumont was a crime of cunning, designed to baffle. A locked room, a dagger, a killer who vanished, yet the truth has been revealed to Hercule Poirot. The clues, they were many, but some were false, planted to mislead. Tonight, I name the murderer. His green eyes swept the room, each passenger frozen under his gaze. He turned first to Lady Evelyn, whose handkerchief trembled in her hand. "Madame, your story of sleeping until a thud awoke you was a lie. The lipstick on the glass, matching your hidden tube, places you in the compartment earlier. You stood to inherit millions. Did you kill to secure it?" Evelyn gasped, her voice sharp. "I loved Reginald. I was framed. The lipstick, the necklace, all planted." Poirot nodded. "Perhaps, madame. Your grief seems genuine, but your lies obscure the truth." Victor Langston was next, his face flushed. "I didn't touch him, Poirot. That key, that note, they were planted to frame me." Poirot held up the tiny key from the staff lockbox. "This, monsieur, gave access to a duplicate key for compartment 1. And the burn mark from your cigar places you near the scene. Your motive, Beaumont's embezzlement, was strong." Langston slammed his fist on the table. "I'm no killer! Someone's setting me up!" But his eyes betrayed fear, and Poirot pressed on. Madame Elise Duval recoiled as Poirot produced the blue silk thread. "Madame, your shawl, your footsteps at 2:25, your past with Beaumont, these suggest a motive of scorned love or greed for his wealth." She shook her head, her voice husky. "I sang. I slept. That thread was an accident." Yet her pawned ring, tied to Beaumont's estate, hinted at deeper ties. Dr. Muller's calm held firm. "The vial, Monsieur Poirot, was not mine. I had no reason to kill." Poirot tilted his head. "Your crawl space, monsieur, could pass a vial or thread, staging a false clue. Your knowledge of poisons is damning." Muller's lips through the keyhole, turning the lock and pulled under the door. The watch, stopped at 2:45, was tampered to mislead. The vial, the thread, the button, these were red herrings, planted to confuse. He paused, his eyes locking on Langston. "Monsieur Langston, you are the murderer. You met Beaumont at 2:30, as the note confirms, to confront his embezzlement. In rage, you stabbed him with his own dagger, wiped it clean, and used the string trick to lock the door. The cigar burn was your mistake, the key your access." Langston leapt to his feet, shouting, "Lies! I was framed!" But Poirot raised a hand. "The ledger in your trunk with fresh ink proves your argument with Beaumont. You planted the vial to implicate Muller, the thread to point to Duval." A twist emerged. Poirot revealed a second note, found in Beaumont's pocket, in Langston's handwriting. "Pay or face ruin." It confirmed a blackmail attempt gone wrong. "You killed to silence him," Poirot said, "and to protect your empire." Evelyn's lipstick, Duval's thread, Muller's vial, Winter's letter, Jacques' button, all were distractions, some planted by Langston, others coincidental. The crawl space was a red herring, too narrow for use but suggesting Muller's guilt. The necklace, Poirot deduced, was hidden by Langston in his compartment, found during a final search, sealing his fate. The passengers gasped, Langston's face crumpling. "He deserved it!" he spat. "He stole everything!" Poirot signalled Laurent, who locked the dining car doors. "The police in Lyon will take you, monsieur. Justice is served." As the train slowed into Lyon, the passengers sat in stunned silence. Evelyn wept, her relief genuine. Duval hummed softly, her secrets safe. Muller adjusted his spectacles, vindicated. Winters clutched her satchel, her quest unresolved. Laurent and Jacques exhaled, their roles clarified. Poirot stood tall, his moustache twitching. "The little grey cells, they do not fail," he said softly. "The truth."
Its quiet intensity stood at the heart of the storm. His little grey cells alert to the undercurrents of fear and betrayal that now rippled through the train. The string trick, the planted clues, the hidden necklace, all had pointed to Langston. But as the train neared Lyon, new fissures emerged, threatening to unravel the fragile unity among the passengers and cast doubt on the resolution. In the dining car, where the chandeliers cast flickering prisms across tense faces, the passengers remained after Poirot's dramatic accusation. Victor Langston, handcuffed by conductor Pierre Laurent with a makeshift rope, sat slumped in a chair, his American bravado replaced by a sullen glare. "You've got it wrong, Poirot," he spat, his voice hoarse. "I'm no murderer. This is a setup." Lady Evelyn Beaumont, her emerald eyes blazing, leaned forward. "You monster! You killed my husband for his money." Her accusation hung heavy, but Poirot noted a tremor in her voice, grief or something else. Madame Elise Duval, her silver bracelets jangling, pointed at Langston. "You planted that thread to frame me, didn't you?" Dr. Heinrich Müller, his spectacles glinting, remained silent, his calm unnerving. Miss Clara Winters clutched her satchel, her face pale, while Laurent and Jacques, the young porter, stood by the door, their expressions a mix of relief and unease. Poirot raised a hand, his voice cutting through the chaos. "Mesdames et messieurs, calm yourselves. The evidence against Monsieur Langston is compelling. The note, the key, the cigar burn, the hidden necklace. Yet his protests demand attention. If there is more to this crime, the truth will not hide from Hercule Poirot." His green eyes scanned the room, catching every glance, every twitch. The passengers' alliances, fragile from the start, were fracturing under the weight of accusation and doubt. Lady Evelyn turned on Langston, her voice rising. "You were always jealous of Reginald's success. You planned this from the start." Langston snarled back, "You're no saint, Evelyn. Everyone knows your marriage was a sham. You wanted his fortune." Thread in the vent. Your footsteps at 2:25. Your aria stopped abruptly. Were you plotting with another? Duval's face paled. "I told you. I rested my voice. I'm no conspirator." But her defensive tone hinted at secrets untold. Dr. Muller, silent until now, spoke with measured calm. "This squabbling is pointless. The evidence points to Langston. The vial in my compartment was clearly planted to frame me." Poirot tilted his head. "And yet, monsieur, your crawl space could have facilitated such planting. Did you assist in this deception?" Muller's lips thinned. "I am a physician, not a schemer." But his steady gaze faltered,
and Poirot sensed a hidden agenda. Miss Clara Winters, her voice trembling, pointed at Langston. "You knew I was Reginald's daughter. Did you kill him to keep me from his will?" Langston laughed bitterly. "You're delusional, girl. Those letters are fakes, probably your doing." Winters gasped, tears welling. "They're real. My mother kept them." Poirot held up the forged letter from her satchel. "This, mademoiselle, is not in Beaumont's hand. Did you or another craft it to stake a claim?" Winters sobbed. "I found it. I'm no forger." But her presence near compartment 1 at 2:30, confirmed by Jacques, kept her in the spotlight. Conductor Laurent, his face drawn, stepped forward. "Monsieur Poirot, Langston is guilty. Let's end this." But Poirot's eyes narrowed. "Monsieur Laurent, your master keys give you access to all compartments. Did you aid Langston or another, perhaps for your brother's sake?" Laurent bristled. "I'm loyal to my duty." Jacques, trembling, added, "I lost that button cleaning, not murdering." But their proximity to the crime scene and access to keys kept suspicion alive. A new complication arose as Poirot returned to compartment 1 for a final sweep. In the folds of Beaumont's blood-stained sheets, he found a tiny scrap of paper, overlooked before, bearing the single word: vengeance. The handwriting matched.
Duval, did you conspire with Madame Beaumont to frame Langston? Duval gasped. Absurd. I'd never work with her. Evelyn retorted, You're the one with his ring, stolen, no doubt. Poirot held up the vengeance note. This suggests a motive beyond greed. Who seeks vengeance here? Both women fell silent, their alliance fracturing under scrutiny. A twist emerged. Poirot found a faint perfume scent on the vengeance note, matching a bottle in Duval's compartment. Not the almond-scented vial, but a rare jasmine blend. Madame Duval, were you in compartment 1, leaving this note? She shook her head, panic rising. I never entered. Someone took my perfume. The scent, like the thread, felt too convenient. A red herring, or a clue to a second conspirator? As the train slowed, nearing Lyon, the passengers' accusations grew venomous. Muller accused Winters of forging her claim. Winters blamed Laurent for key access. Laurent pointed at Jacques, and Jacques stammered denials. Poirot stood amid the chaos, his voice cutting through. The alliances you form, they crumble under truth. Someone among you knows more than they say. Speak, or the police in Lyon will extract it. The passengers fell silent, their glances darting like daggers. Poirot retreated to the lounge, the train's rhythm a counterpoint to his thoughts. The vengeance note, the jasmine scent, the forged letter, all suggested a second layer to the crime. Was Langston a scapegoat or a partner in a larger plot? The necklace, now recovered, pointed to theft, but the locked room remained the key. Poirot's eyes gleamed. The truth is a mosaic, he murmured, and one piece is still missing. The Lyon Express neared its destination, the passengers trapped in a web of fractured trust. Poirot knew the final hours would bring clarity, or more deception. The little gray cells were tireless, and justice was not yet fully served. Chapter 9. The Final Clue. The Lyon Express thundered through the deepening dusk, its sleek silhouette slicing through the French countryside, as the first stars pierced the
Where the leather armchairs and mahogany tables bore witness to the passengers' unraveling composure. Poirot paced, his green eyes sharp as he reviewed the evidence. The blue silk thread, the almond-scented vial, the brass button, the tampered watch, the cryptic notes.
and the hidden crawl space had woven a web of deception. But the vengeance note and its jasmine scent gnawed at his mind. The passengers, summoned once more, sat in tense silence. Lady Evelyn Beaumont, her emerald eyes guarded. Victor Langston, handcuffed and defiant. Madame Elise Duval, her silver bracelets still. Dr. Heinrich Müller, his spectacles glinting with calm. Miss Clara Winters, clutching her satchel. Conductor Pierre Laurent, rigid with strain. And Jacques, the young porter, trembling under scrutiny. Mesdames et messieurs, Poirot began, his voice slow and deliberate, a beacon in the storm of suspicion. The murder of Sir Reginald Beaumont is a puzzle of exquisite cunning. The locked room, the dagger, the false clues. They point to Monsieur Langston, yet doubts linger. A new clue, the final clue, has emerged, and it will name the true killer. The truth, it is close, and Poirot will not be deceived. His gaze swept the room, catching every flinch, every held breath. He turned to Lady Evelyn, whose delicate frame tensed. Madame, your lipstick lie and corridor sighting at 2:15 suggest involvement. Yet your grief seems genuine. Did you conspire with another? Evelyn's voice shook. I swear, I only stepped out for air. Someone used my lipstick to frame me. Poirot nodded, noting her desperation. Her inheritance motive was strong, but her reactions hinted at fear, not guilt. Victor Langston, his face flushed, strained against his restraints. I'm no killer, Poirot. That key, the note, the necklace, someone planted them. Poirot held up the pay-or-face ruin note in Langston's handwriting. This blackmail attempt, monsieur, led to a fatal confrontation. Yet the vengeance note suggests another hand.
Crack. Miss Clara Winters, tears welling, gripped her forged letter. I didn't forge it. My father wrote it. Poirot held up the letter, its feminine handwriting stark. This, mademoiselle, is not Beaumont's. Your presence at 2:30, seen by Jacques, places you near the crime. Revenge, perhaps? Winters sobbed. I only wanted my place. Her anguish seemed genuine, but her story wavered. Conductor Laurent and Jacques faced scrutiny last. Monsieur Laurent, your keys and grudge against Beaumont are suspicious. Monsieur Jacques, your missing button places you at the scene. Laurent bristled. I was in the staff car. Jacques stammered. I dropped it, cleaning, but their access kept them in the frame. Poirot's final clue emerged during a meticulous search of compartment 1, conducted as the train rattled over a viaduct. Beneath the berth's mattress, tucked into a seam, he found a tiny brass ring, engraved with a delicate C.W., Clara Winters' initials. It was Beaumont's signet ring, mentioned at dinner as a family heirloom, twisted as if wrenched off in a struggle. This, Poirot murmured, is the key. Not the lock, not the string, but the ring. Its presence suggested a personal confrontation, not a distant plot. He gathered the passengers, holding up the ring. This belonged to Sir Reginald, yet it bears Mademoiselle Winters' initials. How did it come to be here? Winters gasped, her face ashen. I don't know. He wore it always. Poirot's eyes gleamed. Unless, mademoiselle, you took it during a struggle at 2:30, when you were seen near compartment 1. The room erupted in murmurs. Winters sobbing, No, I didn't kill him. Poirot's voice rose, cutting through the chaos. The ring tells a story. Beaumont's death was not about money or blackmail alone. It was personal. The string trick, the planted clues, these were distractions to hide a deeper motive. He turned to Winters. Mademoiselle, your letters, your presents, your ring. Lockbox briefly at 2 o'clock. It's possible. A crack in security. Enabling the killer. The final clue crystallized. The twisted ring suggested a struggle inside the compartment, not an external trick. Winters had confronted Beaumont, but someone else, using her presence, struck. Poirot's eyes locked on Evelyn. Madame, you entered at 2:15, used a duplicate key from the lockbox, stabbed Beaumont after Winters left, and planted the note to frame Duval. The lipstick was your mistake. Evelyn screamed, "Lies! I loved him!" But her trembling hands betrayed her. The passengers gasped. Alliances shattered. Langston, still handcuffed, laughed bitterly. "I knew I was framed." Duval glared at Evelyn. Muller nodded slowly, and Winters wept with relief. Poirot signaled Laurent. "Secure Madame Beaumont. The police in Lyon will hear all." The train slowed, its whistle piercing the night. Justice hovered, but the full truth awaited. Chapter 10. The Denouement. The Lyon Express slowed its relentless pace, its polished cars gliding through the outskirts of Lyon as the night deepened, stars glinting above the French countryside like scattered diamonds. Within, the train's opulent interiors, velvet curtains, gleaming brass, and crystal chandeliers were a stark contrast to the storm of betrayal and revelation that had engulfed its passengers. Sir Reginald Beaumont's murder in the locked compartment 1, a dagger through his heart, had woven a tapestry of deception. With clues like the blue silk thread, missing necklace, torn ticket stub, cryptic notes, almond-scented vial, brass button, tampered watch, hidden crawl space, and twisted signet ring pointing to a complex plot. Hercule Poirot, his moustache quivering with quiet triumph, stood ready to unveil the full truth, his little grey cells having pieced together the final threads of the locked room mystery. In the dining car, transformed into a theatre of justice, the passengers gathered under the soft glow of chandeliers, their faces a gallery of fear, relief, and accusation. Lady Evelyn Beaumont, now under suspicion, The jasmine-scented vengeance note have led me to the truth. Tonight, Hercule Poirot names the true killer. His green eyes swept the room, catching every flinch, every held breath. He turned first to Lady Evelyn, whose delicate frame stiffened. "Madam, you lied about your movements. Your lipstick on the glass, your presence at 2:15, and the vengeance note in your handwriting suggest you entered compartment 1, using a duplicate key from the lockbox, and stabbed your husband." Evelyn's voice rose, sharp with panic. "No, I loved Reginald. Someone framed me with that note." Poirot tilted his head. "Your motive, his fortune, was strong, but your lies unravel you. Yet there is more." Victor Langston, struggling against his restraints, shouted, "I told you, Poirot, I'm innocent. The key, the cigar burn, planted." Poirot held up the blackmail note in Langston's hand. "Pay or face ruin. This, monsieur, proves a confrontation, but not murder. You were a convenient scapegoat." Langston's eyes widened, a flicker of hope breaking through his defiance. Madame Elise Duval, her husky voice strained, clutched her shawl. "The jasmine scent, the thread, these were used against me." Poirot nodded. "Indeed, madam, your perfume was stolen to forge the vengeance note, and your thread was planted. But your past with Beaumont, did it drive you to aid another?" Duval shook her head. "I'm innocent.
I sang, I slept. Her fear seemed genuine, but Poirot pressed on. Dr. Muller, his calm intact, adjusted his spectacles. The vial, the crawl space, these were meant to implicate me. I had no motive. Poirot's eyes narrowed. Your knowledge of poisons, monsieur, and your past with Beaumont's illness made you a suspect. But you are not the killer. Muller exhaled, his relief subtle but evident. Miss Clara Winters, her voice trembling, held up her forged letter. I didn't kill my father. The ring, it came off when I begged him to acknowledge me. Poirot's voice softened.
Evelyn. Madame Beaumont, you are the murderer. You entered at 2:15 after Mademoiselle Winter's confrontation using a key stolen from the lockbox. You stabbed your husband, driven by greed for his fortune and rage at his infidelities. You planted the vengeance note, using Duval's jasmine perfume to frame her. The lipstick was your error, the ring a miscalculation, left when Winter's struggle twisted it off. Evelyn leapt to her feet, screaming, "Lies! I was framed!" But Poirot raised a hand. The handwriting on the note matches yours, found in your diary. The necklace, hidden in your own luggage, not Langston's, seals your guilt. You staged the theft to suggest another motive. A search conducted moments before had revealed the necklace in Evelyn's valise, wrapped in her shawl. The passengers gasped, Langston laughing bitterly. "I knew it!" Duval glared. Muller nodded, and Winters wept with relief. Poirot continued. Mademoiselle Winters visited Beaumont at 2:30, begging recognition. He refused. A struggle ensued, and the ring came off. You, Madame Beaumont, entered after, killed him, and used Winter's presence to muddy the waters. The vial, placed in Muller's compartment, was a final deception. Evelyn's face crumpled, her defiance breaking. "He betrayed me," she sobbed. "His affairs, his lies, I couldn't bear it. I took the key. I stabbed him. I hid the necklace." Her confession echoed, a raw admission of greed and scorned love. Poirot signaled Laurent, who secured her with a firm grip. "The police in Lyon will take you, madame. Justice is served." The train slowed, its whistle piercing the night as Lyon's lights appeared. The passengers sat in stunned silence, their alliances shattered. Langston, freed from his cuffs, rubbed his wrists, his innocence bitter. Duval hummed softly, her secret safe. Muller adjusted his spectacles, vindicated. Winters clutched her satchel. Her quest